Jimmy Moody, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hey, tell us about this morning here at the National Championships.
Well, it's great to be here in Reno. They've put on a great event. Got my warm-up in. It was a struggle bus I was riding this morning. For me personally, National Championships, it's a great event, but for ranking, it doesn't really do much for me. So I didn't have much motivation as far as points goes, and ranking is all just for the glory. And it turns out that's not enough for me. But it was a lot of fun. It's always good to be out here fencing, seeing my teammates, competing again. We're actually only about halfway through our season, so we're actually training through this one, preparing for Budapest in 2 weeks.
So you mentioned kind of like your approach to today and how it didn't really work out as you had hoped. You know, how do you typically approach a competition?
Usually there's actually a lot more stress and anxiety when I go into a competition. I like that. It sort of builds the adrenaline and it gives me something to work off of and bleed. I fence more off of that feel and that fire. For me to have something so relaxed and so just for the fun of it is very hard to get in that zone. Athletes always are trying to get in that zone. For me, I need something on the line. I need to really be pushed. I need that stress.
And you mentioned kind of not really having a whole lot on the line today. Given it's national championships, for a lot of people, you know, the opposite is true. Tell us a little bit about, you know, why for you national championships doesn't contribute that much to your season.
Yeah, so for our season, we count your best 2 of 4 domestic results, and this is the last one of those. And I already posted 2 a bronze and a silver finish. So I'd have to win in order to improve on those results. And that should be every athlete's goal. You should always be trying to win. But actually right now for me, where we're at in the season, we're about to enter Olympic qualification. So I'm less focused on just single one-off results domestic. I need to be looking internationally because I want to be national champion. But more than that, I want to be on the Olympic team. So that means I need to make worlds this year. I need to go to zonals, and I want to go to Pan Ams. So that's going to be done internationally.
So of all those competitions, you know, what provides the best atmosphere for you to compete, where you get that high pressure, high intensity environment?
World Cups, nothing simulates a World Cup. Just being in the room with all the different countries and seeing them fence. That's really like nothing stateside has ever replicated what it's like over there.
And which World Cup does that best?
The best one probably would be either Heidenheim, which is the oldest for men's epee, or in Paris. Just because it's a really hard competition. Like they're filling it in with all the leftover spots with the French team, and their B and C and D team are phenomenal. So it's great because every bout is high stakes, and every touch is so valuable. You gain so much experience and you learn so fast at that event.
So you're a smart guy. You've had a lot of kind of opportunities in creative roles with different organizations. How do you feel the U.S. could replicate that environment with some of our domestic or international competitions?
We could simulate the format more. It's hard. We have such huge numbers, and it makes for very random draws. So you could look to simulate just the international format. The top 16 have their bye, and then you compete to the round robin. We've talked about doing something like that. For me, a lot of it's very hard to sort of build that stress and that tension with such a large venue, but we need it because of the space. We're running so many events at a time. Maybe if we could do very like weapon-specific events, logistically that would make it, we could have a small, more intimate setting, so it really builds that tension and that competitive atmosphere, rather than being diffused across such a large space. Yeah. And then it's easier to see because you can know, you're like, oh, these these are team bouts going on right now in front of you. Like I can just look over in this pod, everyone's fighting for a team. Right now it's hard, you're looking around, you're like, where do I go? Like there's people over there, there's people over there. Who should I be watching? You don't know. If you can make that smaller, it makes it much more viewer friendly.
And you talk about the competitive atmosphere and really focused training or competitive environment. Training at the OTC, you know, what are some of the positives and negatives of having that that kind of resource?
Yeah, the Olympic Training Center is phenomenal. They do such a good job of relieving all the stress outside of training and competition, like your food, your housing, all that's taken care of, your medical, sports recovery. So you're gonna get the best training possible. For us right now, we're sort of suffering from a lack of volume in our practices. We need more bodies. We need that critical mass. We need more athletes. Right now, there's just 3 of us. It's myself, Jason Pryor, and Andras Aranyi. It's great. Like, we have the quality. Like, they're all top fencers, and we duke it out of practice. But we just need more diversity in the numbers.
And for people who are a little skeptical or hesitant to kind of make that jump and access those great resources, what would you say to them?
I would say, I mean, it's a lot. It's very scary to dedicate yourself to the Olympics, and you're like, oh, I'm going to give up 4 years of my life. It's very scary. I'm not going to get a traditional job in the sense and go that known route. But there's so much more to be gained, so much opportunity to sort of carve your own path. We get so much face time with sponsors and high-level executives, and we can get gainful employment that way. But also, there aren't many people who can say they're an Olympian on their resume, or that they even got to that level and trained. Because you can add it, if you're the caliber of person who's self-motivated and willing to take that risk, it says something about you, and you can sell that. And I would just encourage people to take more risks. They're so young. We have so much young talent in the U.S. It's like, don't be in such a rush to grow up.
Well, you can definitely see the honesty and kind of inspiration coming from you in that. So hopefully some young fencers will also be inspired and take the leap. All right, thanks, Jimmy.
You're very welcome.